What if I told you A Nightmare on Elm Street isn't just a horror movie? It's kind of a fairy tale. Not the Disney version, the older version, the one where everything is too graphic, the adults are suspicious, and the moral is basically, good luck, kids. Because traditional fairy tales have a pattern. Adults fail children. Parents abandon and neglect them, create the danger, and then the kids have to survive it. Hansel and Gretel are left in the woods during a famine, Little Red Riding Hood is sent out alone, Snow White is targeted by an adult, and in the juniper tree, which is less famous but also unwell, the parent offs their own child. So you know. Wholesome family content. A lot of these stories kind of sound cute on the surface, but underneath, they're warnings about what happens when the people who are supposed to protect you don't. And Elm Street follows that same structure. Every teenager on Elm Street is basically a fairy tale character dealing with the fallout of something the adults already did. The catalyst is the parents of Springwood chose to off Freddy Krueger. They thought that solved the problem, but in stories like fairy tales, it never does. Consequences don't disappear because the adults are done talking about them. They transfer. Freddy doesn't come back for the parents, he comes back for their children, which makes sense why the remake used the Pied Piper story. It's a tale of a man who rids the town of rats, but when they refuse to pay him, he lures away their kids. Same sort of thing. Freddy doesn't just hurt kids, he robs them of their future, innocence, freedom, and everything they were supposed to get in life. So Freddy isn't just a villain, but a byproduct. He's unresolved guilt, buried violence, and the moral mess adults create when they act out of fear and rage, even when that rage makes sense. So the teenagers do what fairy tale protagonists always do, figure it out alone. They learn the rules, adapt, and survive without reliable adult help. And that's exactly what Wes Craven was interested in.
Horror films in general are about the terror of entering adulthood because you think adulthood is actually evil. The adults are either, in league to kill you, or they are incompetent. And there's no real guidelines that you can take from adults. I think kids are always wondering, like, how do I survive in this world of adults that seems to be quite maniacal and crazy and full of duplicity, and we're really nice people, at the same time we're killing people,
What he's describing isn't just horror, but adolescence. The moments when you realize adults are not all-knowing. They have blind spots, lie, panic, and make choices they don't fully understand. And sometimes they create the thing their children are forced to confront. Divorce, relational trauma, addiction, family secrets, or in this case, a guy in a dirty red and green sweater who is now a limitless evil dream demon. Normal stuff. Nightmare even has its own children's rhyme, so the fairy tale connection is not exactly hiding. And Wes kind of incorporated some of the fairy tale elements in New Nightmare with Heather and Dylan in the Hansel and Gretel role. So yes, A Nightmare on Elm Street is a slasher, but it's also fantasy, American folklore, and a dark fairy tale about children forced to survive a world the adults broke before they got there. Nightmare turns survival into coming of age and asks, when adults fail you, can you survive their mess?